Hi everyone, I'm Natalie. I'm a member of Team UMA New York, and today we're hosting our Q&A. And I'm here with Rita, the founder of UMA, and today we're going to talk about diversity. Hi Rita.
Hi Natalie. Hi everyone. How are you today?
I'm good. How was your weekend?
Weekend's been going well so far. It's busy. Homeschooling is done for both kids, so I'm happy. I'm more relaxed. Being busy, lots of things going on currently in the news and whatnot with diversity. So it's a great topic. I'm so glad we picked this week.
Yeah, that's true. So let's get started. We have so many questions, and let me just get to the first one. And the first one of our question is from Jane, and she's asking how to overcome stereotypes and what I can personally do to be perceived based on my knowledge, based on my skills, and not based on how I look. And probably this question faced not only like people of color, but even like women and almost like everyone who looks just even a little bit different.
That's a great question, Jane. Thank you for posing it. And it's actually a question that, to your point, Natalie, affects everybody and always will affect everybody. And I think a lot of it is by perception, according to how you look and how you are. And unfortunately, we do all have unconscious biases. I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, it's something we're born with. It's something we've grown up with. We have perceptions in our mind. It takes on average 6 seconds when you see something for the first time to formulate an opinion about them. We cannot do anything about that. That is something embedded, imprinted in our minds. So when we see somebody, whether we want to or not, we form an opinion. It could be their voice. It could be the way they look. It could be how they introduce themselves. It could be the way they smile. We don't know. It's something that imprints. So what can we do if we're the person that's meeting someone for the first time to try and change that opinion or to create how we want them to see us? Well, if it's a workplace example, and I assume, Jane, that you're talking about in the workplace, so you are taken seriously for your product and what you actually do and what you produce in the workforce. Well, I say, you cannot do anything about the initial highs and hellos. What you can do is, when you greet somebody on a professional level, just, make eye contact, firm handshake, smile. So those are some things that you could do anyway. But other things is that you are known for your work quality and your work product. What is your output and how you are as part of being part of the team as well. Now, there's a lot that can be done with others in the team to make you feel welcome as part of the team. But from your own perspective as well, you are perhaps the new person or you're somebody there. Is sort of see how the team interacts with each other. For example, are they quite playful? Are they quite conversive? And your personality may or may not be exactly the same or slightly different. And different is great. We embrace those unique qualities. And we want people to see that. So just be yourself, get in there in conversations, insert yourself when you see other people chatting on the team. Just insert yourself. Like if they're having a conversation on something, just insert yourself in that conversation. Say, oh, I remember that. Oh, I saw that on TV. If somebody's talking about a topic that does not interest you, I get this a lot when folks are like, you know what, there are loads of men on a team, they're talking about football scores. I don't watch football. What can I do? How can I be part of the team? I would just say, interject yourself and say, hey, that's great. By the way, did anyone see the show on something else? Or is anyone caught up on Netflix or whatever it is? Just something that inserts yourself to show them that, hey, don't forget I'm here as well. So these are little tips you could do to insert yourself into the picture. Quite often people don't know they're offending you or leaving you out. They just are busy on something that they're talking about or thinking about. So you can do that. And otherwise, I would say just sort of, be yourself and make sure your output, your quality of work is what ultimately is going to let you stand out. And how you are as a person. People like humans. They like interacting with people. Let them get to know you. You get to know them as well.
Well, thank you so much, Rita. And this is such wonderful advice. And I knew about the bias, but I have no idea that in just like 6 seconds and voila, we have a perspective of someone. All right, and I hope this advice will help all of our followers and the UMA community, because it is such like a widespread and we face it like everywhere. And let's move forward because it's interesting because we got questions not only from people who are looking for advice for themselves, but for people who have teams, who work at companies and who want to bring the more like better understanding of diversity to their company culture. And so let's move to the next question. And this is a question from Francois, and he's asking, how to build the culture of acceptance and respect within my multicultural team. So probably he's working at the company and he already doing something, and he wants to help people to feel good in his team.
Well, hey, congratulations on thinking that way. I'm so glad. This is a very timely topic. Well done for thinking that way. So I think the first step is thinking along the lines you are. So you've already done the first step. That's the first thing. The second step is are you, I mean, I don't know if you're a senior manager or if you're looking after other team members or you're looking after your own team, but you want others to be on the same wavelength you are. So the next step really for you is to kind of speak to the other managers of teams, other senior leaders, and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of. I really want to do this. Will you help me? Because the next point of understanding is getting others to understand why they need to create a diverse and inclusive team structure in the first place. Quite often, and in fact, not quite often, a lot of the time when we at UMA, we get called in to consult and strategize for companies, people are ticking a box. They're just saying, hey, we need to create a diverse environment. Can you help us? Rather than have the understanding of the why and the passion and the desire to make change happen. So the first step we do, and we do this with all of our clients, so the same with you as well, is that we need to create an understanding of why you want that to happen. You speak to your team members and let that passion come out. Use a personal example. Think of other personal examples that your other fellow managers have as well. That is the first driving force of why this needs to happen. When you've done that first driving force of the why, then you can think of, okay, the how. How are we going to do this? What is maybe lacking in your own team structure that you can see? Is it that you have a team that happens to be diverse already, but they're just not gelling together? You know, you have many, many different people from different cultures, but they're all sitting in their siloed boxes and nobody really talks to each other. I don't know. It could be that. It could be that you don't have a diverse team and you're thinking of, you know, what do we even do to create that in the first place? So obviously these are things that we can help you with. I would encourage you to reach out to us afterwards. But I think in the interim, have those conversations of the what, the why, and then let's think about the how are you going to do this? Because there are so many ways of creating those inclusive cultures. It could be organizing your team members to speak up once a week, have team meetings and get them to share something personal to them, something that has happened to them about a certain recent news event. How does it make them feel? How does it make their neighbors feel? How does it impact them? How does it impact you? You know, we talk a lot about allies, managers being allies, and you could be one of those allies. So to be an ally, you have to listen, you have to share your own examples. Just as you want your team members to share how it affects them, let them know how it affects you. You know, have you had examples where you've been touched by race or other diverse or systemic issues in the workforce? Yes or no? Let them hear that, because people don't often understand different people's reactions without understanding and without that active communication. So I think there's a few nuggets for you to get started. Again, please reach out. We'd be very happy to kind of advise you and help you as you build out your resources on the diversity and inclusion front.
Thank you, Rita. This was wonderful advice, and you know, I was just thinking about this, like team meetings, and I think that we even can do this in our families to, like, once maybe a week, just host organized meeting, whether it's a small family or larger, and this can build like a better bond, even like with the very like tiny circle.
But that's actually a really good point, Natalie. So as we talk about changing workplace culture, it feeds directly into what happens in our personal lives. What many of us forget is that we try to change one aspect, professional and personal. There's a very, very thin line between them, if at all. You know, a lot of these conversations that we're having of our own biases, systemic structures come from what happens in our personal lives. So absolutely, now that we're in quarantine, it's the perfect time for most of us to spend more time with family members or other members that we have close contact with and have these conversations. Let's bring them up. Let's bring up things that have been uncomfortable in the past. Let's talk about feelings, why it impacts people and how, and then let this flow back into the workforce again. And like, to your point, I think absolutely these conversations need to happen, not just in the workforce, but at home as well.
Thank you, Rita. And let's move forward. Just move to our next question. And it is one more question. It feels like all the, like those questions are even like, feels like the persons who ask them, they are like very thinking are together. Because this question is from Dave, and he's asking how to inspire my team to communicate better, because it feels like they that we have an area for improvements, but people are not willing to speak up, to talk about their issues, and about maybe the situation when they doesn't feel respected or they feel discriminated. So how might we inspire people to speak up?
You know what? That's a great point. And the fact is, again, you're thinking on making change happen, Dave, and which is great. Start small. You know, you might be in a company structure that nobody has ever shared their personal thoughts before. It might just be your culture in the company. So think about that, and you think about how hard it is. Therefore, so somebody who comes from a minority background to suddenly say, "Hey, by the way, did you hear about that?" They won't naturally do that, especially if they've been on the back burner, on the back foot for so long now. The ways you can make it happen is have small groups like team meetings, and you share, Dave, your own personal story first. Talk about how your own feelings are, and then ask people, what do you think? How did that impact you? Slowly, and it's a slow journey, you're going to start seeing people communicate back and answer questions, and you're going to make this more of a holistic experience, more of a personal experience. Encourage these timely discussions. It could be once a week, it could be once a fortnight, it could be once a month, whenever it is. Have it within your teams, have it within your management meetings as well. Talk about your feelings. This is what communication is about. And not just that, show them by example. You know, when we talk about at UMA, and Natalie, you can vouch for this, we tell people all the time, you see something, you say something. But people don't know how to do that unless you give them an example. So you lead by example and say, hey, I noticed so-and-so was going on in the kitchen the other day and whatnot. So I decided to go and talk to them about it and say, hey, I noticed that. Is everything okay? Or I noticed that issue. Would you like my help on anything? That is a bit about problem solving. And it's about you personally telling somebody that I'm here for you as well. And showing examples like that, Dave, helps you feel more involved, but it shows your team that you're trying to create a warm, encouraging, communicative culture as well. So start small, and it will, I promise you, it's going to grow from there.
Oh, thank you so much, Rita. It's such a wise advice, and I noticed by my own that quite often, especially when it's like younger people, and right now after our last Q&A, I started being a mentor by my own for a young talented illustrator, and I noted that for her it's even like just hard to communicate and to speak up about the issue that she's facing. And sometimes when it's like a bit like younger, like 18, 19-year-old girls and boys, they can even like don't realize like as when you are wider that something is happening. They can just like feel that, hey, it's like someone she or he is anxious and just can't understand that something is wrong, but they sometimes for them even hard to communicate that, hey, this is wrong because of this and this and this. All right, let's move forward. And the next question is from Crystal, and she's asking that she's a woman of color in a tech company, and she asks how to educate my coworkers about the diversity without looking weird.
Yeah, great point, Crystal. And also you're in an area where, you know, women in tech is hot right now. You know, tech firms are now more, you know, focused on trying to bring more women into tech. So you are in that position, in a position of power right now. People are going to listen to you, but the right people. But I think for your perspective, what you could do is, and I don't know which company you're at, which tech firm, but maybe speak to an HR group, or see if you have an affinity group at your firm that specifically tries to encourage women and people of color to have a voice, and speak to them and see what their examples are. If that team doesn't exist, it might be a small company. Speak to them and say, hey, I'm the only person of color, or there's a couple other in the company. I'd like to form a support group for us. And you lead that initiative, because that could be a great way of you feeling in charge of doing something great, but also making change happen. This thing is all about change happening. It's all about everybody taking a personal step and taking responsibility themselves to make change happen. So this could be the first step that you, Crystal, take yourself. And then the other thing you could do is just, you know, sit down with your manager and say, hey, obviously we're all talking about what's going on in the news right now. This is going on. I am, you know, a minority woman. I'm in the business. I would love to share my experience a little bit. Can I have 5 minutes at the next team meeting just to talk a little bit about my feelings? And just do that. And let that take over, and see how the voices around the room resonate with what you say. You'd be surprised.
Oh, thank you, Rita. I hope Crystal will do it and everything will be fine. And Crystal, if you need any more help, just feel free to DM us, and we at Tuma will help you and guide you how to do this. How maybe if you will even like face some challenges, or you want to be better in gaining the voice in the company. So feel free to DM us, and we are, for all our followers, we are here to help. And we have a few more questions, and the next one is from Rupa, and she's asking, how can I and my team be better when it comes to empathy and listening?
Great question, Rupa. Thank you for asking us that. I think you've actually answered the question yourself when you talk about empathy and listening. So the first rule about empathy is putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. And the best way to do that is taking a step back and listening. So when somebody talks to you, just show them by listening. Don't just try and answer the question. People come to you for advice quite often, especially when you're a manager or you are a colleague in a team. Rather than sort of just give advice straight away, stop, listen, repeat back to them what you think you have heard to make sure they understand that you've understood it in the correct way, digest it, and then you can talk to them a little bit about, okay, that this is what I think, or you know what, I don't know. It's totally fine to put your hands up and say, I've never dealt with that before, but hey, how about we try something like this? So I think by doing that, it's going to, I tell my kids all the time, put your listening ears on, and that in itself enacts a bit of empathy. And then it's the empathy which really helps to solve these problems. That is what brings people together. That's what brings groups together and communities together. So I think you're on the right track. You've identified it's the listening part and it's to do with empathy. So I think just try that, see how it goes. And again, as Natalie said, just please reach out if we can be more of a support or resource to you.
Thank you, Rita. And I think that we all need always like kind of reminder, because when it's a rush and with lots of things happening, sometimes it feels all right, I need to give advice and run forward to other stuff. And I hope all of our followers will just have a moment, think a bit about this, and improve their daily communication. All right, and we have the last question, and this is from Amber, and she's asking that I'm looking for a job, and how do I identify companies that have a good diversity-friendly culture?
Amber, that is a great question, and congratulations that you're on the journey to look for a job. So I find this is the most exciting part, where you are in control, you're in power to start doing some research on different companies. So the first step you could take is, you look at company websites and you get an idea of what is their team structure. Sometimes they have a CSR arm, a corporate social responsibility arm, and you can see some of the initiatives they care about at the company to give you an idea that, is it just on face value where it looks like they have a diverse workforce, or do they actually care about issues and areas which resonates with you as well? So I would say start looking at different companies, use LinkedIn. Hopefully you have a LinkedIn profile. If not, make sure you get that done. And then LinkedIn with folks that work in some of the companies that you are interested in. See their background, see their examples of what is their company structure like, what is their team structure like. If you know these people directly, speak to them, chat with them, meet them for like a virtual coffee, whatever it is, to get an idea from their perspective how it is. Because remember, joining a diverse workforce isn't just about gender diversity, isn't just about race diversity, isn't just about your background or how you identify diversity. It could be from cultural backgrounds, it could be from, depending on your accent, it could be because of your backgrounds, or if you both come from a military background, or if you're both looking after elderly parents. Whatever it is, there is something that bonds people together. So what you're looking for is something that you can resonate with. Is there somebody in that team that comes from your background that feels like there's somebody like you there, number one? But is there also somebody that you can talk to? It could be a support group. It could be a different sort of community or affinity group at your company that you're looking for. So look at these and see if they exist. Look at company benefits as well. Generally, on some company websites, you can see that some of the benefits they afford to the employees, whether it's leave, paternal leave, or if it's some sort of a benefit that exists for a certain holiday or whatever it is, a cultural belief. Check those out. And if there is an email address on that website to say questions, ask us, make sure you do that, because that is answering your own questions, but it's also showing you genuinely are interested and care about that company and what they supposedly believe in. So good luck to you on that. Well, welcome on that journey, and I'm sure it'll go really well. So best of luck on that.
Right. Thank you, Rita. It was such a wonderful conversation, and I hope it will help all the people who look more for diversity, for understanding. And right now, everyone is talking about, hey, like educate yourself. And then I personally feel the question, all right, how can I do it? Like,
Yeah.
where to learn? And as a woman in tech industry, I think, all right, maybe like in some kind, I feel it because it's like all the male-dominated industry. But for other people, like I have no idea how like women of color or different like body posture or whatever, how this person can feel. And what's your advice just for all the people around to make a better understanding and to find a way how to educate ourselves?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I think the first thing is just to know that it's not like you can flick a switch. Diversity isn't something that you can just say, "Oh, I'm going to read this manual, I'm going to go on that training, and everything's going to be sorted." No, it won't. And if anybody tells you that, it's not true. The only thing that companies like us do is we can help educate on those resources, and we can help you put practices in place to make this part of your regular routine, to make this part of your daily mantra. Diversity and inclusion is a daily mantra, and it's companies like us that we actually live on trying to make that part of your mantra. In order to educate yourself, you can read up, you can see what's in the news, you can find the time to speak to friends of yours from different backgrounds. Remember, diversity isn't just coming from a certain background, it is being an ally and understanding and being supportive to people from different backgrounds too. So, speak to them. Communication is the key right now. And that is the first step in your resources. We all have those. If we look around and look through our Rolodexes, our LinkedIn contacts, our Facebook contacts, there is always somebody there that can give us a different perspective on the one we have. So just reach out to them. That can be homework for everybody who's listening in today. Go find that one person that you haven't connected with in a while that comes from a different background, that could share a different perspective. Pick a topic and just talk about it. And that's the first step in going in the journey of educating ourselves on diversity and inclusion.
Right. Thank you, Rita. It was such wonderful advice. And, after our conversation, I probably will reach out to a few friends of mine and to a few people who I just like barely know, but who have like different story, different background. And because I'm such like inspired to learn more and to better understand all the people around, because I feel that, all right, I personally, I do appreciate people like with any kind, with all the different like skin colors and backgrounds and everything. And with all these things happening and with all the our discussions and with all what Uma is doing, I feel that, all right, today just the right moment to learn even more and to be a better human and to support more people and to understand better.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this was a great discussion, Natalie. Thank you for setting this up. And if I remember correctly, it's such a vast discussion. We are discussing part 2 of this next week as well. So
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. So
Yeah, that's true. Guys, next our Q&A will be on inclusion topic. And so if you have any questions about the inclusion, feel free to DM us, to send us email, to comment under our post, and we will discuss your questions at our next Q&A.